Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter. Thanks for coming by to check out another video. Boy, oh boy, it has been a busy week trying to keep up with all the information that is out there regarding eBay's promoted listings program and the controversies surrounding it. A lot of people have been sending me messages privately and also in my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, asking me for my opinion. What are my suggestions? What should I do? What do I currently do in my business? And I've responded to some of that, but I decided that it would be best to put together a video that summarizes the current nature of the controversy, just basically an overview of the current situation regarding the promoted listings. Different perspectives on what to do and why people have those different views, as well as what I'm doing and how I use promoted listings. And I've been using promoted listings for, I'd say, about 4 months or so at this point. And I had actually planned on putting a video together for you on promoted listings. I just had not gotten around to it yet. And just like when I did the videos on eBay's global shipping program, I like to use the programs for a few months first before I feel comfortable sharing it with the audience, so I could be confident that the information that I'm providing you is accurate. So I just hadn't gotten to it yet, and with everything that erupted on social media last week, I said, you know what, this is the perfect time to put this video together. I'll just integrate what I was going to do anyway, which hasn't changed, by the way, in terms of how I'm using the promoted listings program. And I'll show that more towards the end, but integrate that with this overview. So let's start at the very basic level of what is a promoted listing. And a promoted listing, which by the way is not unique to eBay, there are promoted listings on Amazon, there are promoted listings, as you know, on Google through their AdWords program. There's lots of other places that do it as well. And it's basically a way to artificially bump up your item in search so that you get it seen by buyers, customers, before they would have seen your normal, naturally showing organic search results. So it's a way to get you more views, which hopefully then converts into more buyers or into being able to sell items faster. It all depends on kind of what it is you're selling or what it is you're trying to advertise. A very basic example of it would be over here on Google AdWords, which you could see here. We've got a promoted listing at the top of the page. I just did a basic search for Apple iPhone, so you could see it shows up there as an ad. Under eBay, it would say sponsored. Now here it's at the top. A lot of people assume that promoted listing is always going to show up towards the top of a page, but that's not the case because there's limited space available. So sometimes, depending on the site you're on, the ad or the promotion may show up on the side. Sometimes it may show up on the bottom of the first page. And you may wonder, why would it be on the bottom? How is that promoting it? Well, the logic is that you're better off having a promoted listing show up at the bottom of the first page than having your organic listing showing up at the top of the third page, because more people will see it on that first page. So that's the logic behind that. But as you can see here, we have the promoted ad. I want to show you this because this is how eBay used to work prior to September 2019, which I can't show you anymore because we are now at September 24th, 2019. So, and keep in mind, by the way, I don't know when you're watching this video. I said this is a dynamic situation. So if you're watching this a year from now, look for an update because chances are things have changed. But anyway, going back to this, if we scroll down, you are also going to see that we have organic search results that show the same thing. So here is a link to an organic search result to buy the Apple iPhone 11, and also a link right here to www.apple.com, and you could see that right up here, www.apple.com, and a link to purchase the iPhone 11. So you are seeing a duplication of an organic listing below, and you're seeing the sponsored ad right there. Now, this is important in terms of having the organic listings show up. And the reason why is that some people, myself included sometimes, I mean, I tend to do this, not always, but I tend to. A lot of people will skip the top ad. And they'll skip it because they see it as annoying. Maybe they see it as clutter. They know it's artificial. They know someone paid to put it there. So they want to see the more natural results. So they scroll down. Now that's fine if there's going to be an organic search result that shows up that has your item in it. But what if the promoted listing is showing like this and this result is now gone if it disappears? If that happens, that could really be a problem, because that means anyone who skips over this is not going to see the organic result. Well, that brings us to eBay's fall seller update right here. Now let's go through this together. Starting in September 2019, so we're there, will no longer show duplicate promoted and non-promoted listings on the search results page. If you are using promoted listings, only one of your listings, either promoted or non-promoted. Now that's important. I want to emphasize that. Either promoted or non-promoted, because this is where a lot of confusion has arisen. Some people read this to think that it meant that eBay is only going to show promoted listings from now on, and that is not the case. It's going to be either the promoted or the non-promoted one will appear in a given set of search results, giving buyers a cleaner, more relevant search experience. Now, that's what they say is the reason for doing that. And I'm not going to say that that's not part of the reason for doing it, but there's also another reason for doing it that would also make sense. As they say, follow the money. So let's go over here. And this is a recent report on eBay's earnings. And we're going to scroll down and we're going to look at some things that have happened with eBay. And don't get me wrong, this is not a bash eBay report or video that I'm trying to put out here. I love eBay. I'm making record amount of money on eBay, so I'm not invested at all in bashing the site. I want it to work well for people, though, and any program or any site. And eBay will tell you this too. They welcome, or they say they welcome, constructive criticism about its program. So we'll get to some of that today. But let's just take a look at this. Okay, so the total value of goods sold on eBay actually fell, dropping 4% in the last quarter to 22.6 billion. Now that's not bad, 22.6 billion, but it's still a 4% drop. But where are they making up for it? Well, they're making up for it over here, at least partly. During the second quarter, about 940,000 sellers, so almost 1 million people, used eBay's promoted listings, resulting in its revenue in that area doubling. So it doubled to $89 million. So what do they care really that much if their gross sales is going down, if their promoted revenue is doubling to 89 million? And by the way, this is expected, if you look at projections, this is expected to just continue to increase. And so eBay is pushing the promoted listings hard. Now, what people were doing when they had this, because basically the way it works is that you put a percentage in on the percent that you're going to pay eBay if your promoted listing item sells. So if you put it at 1%, then you're going to pay an extra 1%, but you're also only going to get 1% kind of work. Like basically the amount that you're willing to pay is the basically percentage that they're willing to kind of push you up in search. Is kind of how you could look at it. In other words, if you're willing to pay 10%, you're going to get a bigger bump than if you were paying 1%. That's kind of how it works. And so what a lot of people were doing is they were paying the 1% because just paying the 1% gave them the double search result. It gave them the not natural non-promoted listing, and it also gave them their promoted listing. So this new strategy is really going to eliminate being able to do that. That approach is not going to really be something that's going to be successful with this new model, because they're either going to show the promoted or non-promoted. And if you're only paying 1%, then the chances that you're going to show up high in search, if they're recommending 5% and most people are paying that, are low. So you're not going to get that automated duplicated listing anymore. So you're kind of onto that, and that approach isn't going to work anymore. So this, though, again, is going to pose a problem for people on eBay who, were kind of counting on people being able to find the item organically if they were skipping over this ad right over here. And so some people have decided that because of that very issue, that they are not going to use promoted listings anymore. And I'm not saying that that's a wrong approach. If that's, the approach that you want to take, and I could understand that. You basically saying, if you have that approach, that you're concerned that people are just going to not see your, or a percentage of people are just not going to see your, and they're going to blow by it. The promoted one's showing up, so now the organic one isn't. So now, viewer comes in, goes like this, and now they don't see my item anymore. So I get that. But the flip side argument to this is that with eBay promoting their promoted listings more and more and more, and trying to get more people to use it, that if you completely opt out of the promoted listing program, that you are going to be left behind and your business may actually suffer. Now, the answer to that may very well depend on what type of business you operate, what kind of items you sell, if you're in a saturated market or not. I can just tell you anecdotally, based on things that I've seen people posting in Facebook groups and on social media, that people who decided to stop their promoted listings last week, there have been many people who have said they've noticed an increase in views. But for every single person I have seen who have said that, I have seen another person come in and say that since they stopped their promoted listings, that it really affected them negatively, and their views have gone way down. So some people have said they've seen an increase after stopping. Some people have said they've seen a big decrease after stopping. So it may depend on what kind of items you're selling, what kind of categories you're in, what kind of market you're selling in, a saturated one versus a non-saturated one. Now, there are people who have never used eBay's promoted listings, and you could do very well not using promoted listings. I'm not saying that you can't. There are people out there who, many of you know very well. I'm not naming names in this video because I want to just focus just on the facts, and I don't want to focus on specific people. But there are many successful sellers out there who do not use promoted listings and make tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So can you do it? Yes, you absolutely can. Can you definitely do it if you're primarily selling in saturated markets versus selling unique one-of-a-kind type items, or items that have lower availability? The answer to that is more questionable to me. I'm not entirely sure on that, and I think time is going to tell. I think it's less likely, but is it still possible? It may be, but we will have to wait and see. Now, this is eBay, and as you can see here, I have some promoted listings set up, and I'm going to go through some specifics on this in a minute, but you can see right here, I have a promoted listing set up for at a 5% ad rate. The trending ad rate is 5.6, and it's for the Snow White 1937 music songbooks. So if I go right over here and I just type in and search Snow White 1937 songbook, what you could see is that for best match, I have a sponsored ad that's showing up right here, right there, number 2. That's mine right there. It is showing up. Now, I'm going to go down and I'm going to keep looking for it and see if I see it anywhere else. Because how many search results do we have? We only have 27, right? So there's mine, lot of 4 Snow White. So let's see if it shows up anywhere else. Okay, going down, don't see it, don't see it. Don't see it. So that's all the search results on the same page. It does not show up. So there's no duplication. It used to have duplication. Now it doesn't. Now let me search by a lowest item first. So now we're going to do that. So we're going to scroll down, and now we go down. It's not showing my sponsored ad right now. So it should be showing up right by the 1999 mark. So let's go down and see it. And so there we go. So this time it opted to just show the non-promoted one. Now, the reason why, you might be wondering, why did I switch over to doing promoted listings after I had not been doing them for the longest time? Because after all, like many of you, I don't want to spend any more money. It's just more money that I could potentially be losing, that sort of thing. So, I was just averse to it for the longest time. But what was going on is I was noticing when I was doing comps research for my items and searching sometimes by lowest item plus shipping, I was seeing promoted listings showing up here. And so that was actually making it look like, even to me, and I know about the promoted listings, it was making it look like that was the lowest price item. And I was convinced by how they were integrating it that there were a lot of buyers that were going to not scroll down further. They were just going to stick to the top of the page and they were going to buy that item and they weren't going to get down to my result. So as a result, that's why I started trying to experiment with it. You could see here, here's another common thing people search for, VHS players, and we could see that there are a lot more sponsored ads that are showing up right there. Now I'm going to do it by lowest and see if it shows any sponsored ads that way. Let's see. It's not showing any there, but I have seen that before, that it does show sponsored ads when searching by lowest item. But by best match for sure, which is what's naturally going to show up, you are getting those sponsored ads showing up there. So now let's get to what the other source of the controversy is regarding eBay's promoted listings. And that has to do with ad blockers. So many people are annoyed by pop-up ads that show up on the internet. They find them frustrating. And there's many reasons why people have decided to employ programs that are called ad blockers. And the most popular one is this one right here. It's ad block. There's ad block for Chrome. There's ad block for Firefox. There's all sorts of ad blocks that are out there. Now I'm going to just put this one in right here. I have never put an ad block program on this particular computer before. I have used it on a desktop previously, but not on this particular laptop. So I'm going to try to get it installed here. Let's see if we could do that. You'll need Google Chrome to install most apps, extensions, and themes. Okay, well, you know what? Let's do it because I have Firefox open, so let's just do ad blocker for Firefox. So that'll just make it easier. So I'm going to install the program because this relates to what the controversy is, which is that if you put ad blocker into your browser, that it can make the promoted listings not show up. And so we're going to add that to Firefox right here, and we're going to test this out. We're just going to add it as an extension. And there we go. We have now installed it. Okay, so it says, okay, we've got it. And here it is right here, ABP. So let's go back over to these pages. Let's go to the Snow White page, for example. And let's go back to Best Match. And let's see if the sponsored ad shows up. It does. Okay, so I have ad blocker running and the sponsored ad is showing up. Now let's go over to the VHS players and I am going to refresh the page here as well. And let's see if the sponsored ads show up. They do. They do show up. Okay, now let's go. And let's go within ad blocker, okay? And we're gonna just go right here to the gear. And we are going to press one button here that says we are going to not allow acceptable ads anymore. You see here it says allow acceptable ads. Acceptable ads are not annoying and do not interfere with the content you are viewing. So in other words, a non-acceptable ad would be like one that pops up, that flies in your face, that automatically starts playing, something like that. Whereas a quote-unquote acceptable ad or a non-intrusive ad would be along the lines of a promoted listing. So let's say we go in here after we set up Ad Blocker Plus, and we click that. So we're going to get rid of it. Hold on, I think I double clicked it. Yeah, let me click it out again. Okay, so let's wait till it goes away. Go away. Come on. There you go. Okay, so it's gone now. That makes the change. I don't have to hit save, anything. So let's go back over here. And now I'm going to refresh this same page that had the Snow White stuff on it, and let's see if my promoted listing is there. It is now gone. It flashed up for a second and then it was eliminated. It's gone. Now, while it is gone, let us see if it still shows up organically, because that is definitely important. If it's gone organically and gone promoted, that is a huge problem. But let's see if it will still show up, because if it still shows up, at least we would have that. So going down, going down, going down, going down. Where the heck is it? Now, let me just make sure I didn't miss it before I say that it was missed. I don't see it at all. It's 27 results. I don't even see it showing up organically, which that is crazy, because that means someone who is running that ad blocker and click that button will not see my item. That's crazy. Now let's go over here. Let's go to the VHS tapes, and now here we have a much more crowded field. We have 6,774 search results. So even if we eliminated the promoted and it came up naturally with 6,774 results, you're likely, even if it does show up in organic, you're likely to be buried somewhere. So let's see. I'm going to refresh it. Let's see what it does with the ads. Okay. It showed sponsored for a moment, and then they all went away. Did you see that? And that's only because there's a slight delay, because I'm running all these programs here to do this video. I've got, and I've got all these tabs up, so there's a little bit of a delay. But they're all gone. There are no more promoted listings showing up. So part of the controversy about this is, well, some people say, who the heck is going to go to eBay and go click on their ad blocker program and block out all of the ads, because then they're not going to see the promoted listings? Well, some people might do that who just don't like seeing promoted ads. Now, are they likely to just specifically go to eBay and block it out? No. But what I would say is that there likely is a percentage of people out there, and maybe a high percentage, maybe a medium percentage, I can't tell you exactly, but that will just, as soon as they install their ad blocker, they're going to go in it, they're going to set it up, they're going to say that they don't even want the non-intrusive ads coming in, and that's it. And they're going to go on their merry way, and they're going to do their searches, and they're going to go on the websites that they go on to, and then maybe they wind up on eBay. And when they wind up on eBay, if they happen to be searching for my Snow White item, guess what? Looks like they're not going to find it. So that is definitely a problem. And that gets us into our next source of controversy, which is, what percent of people are actually using ad blockers? Well, kind of depends on who you ask about that one. And let's go to what eBay says about it. eBay says, and I'm going to kind of just read what they say about this. They do admit that ad blockers can block their promoted listings, but they kind of minimize the extent that it can happen. It says ad blockers generally are intended to block intrusive ads, like pop-up ads that disrupt the user experience. That's true. We have designed our promoted listing ads to align natively within our site experience. That's true. And most ad blockers do not block that sort of non-intrusive content. Well, true and false. If what they mean is that most ad blockers may not naturally do it without you going in and pressing a button, well, that may be true for some programs. There's other programs that that may very well do that. But they can be blocked. This just showed it. It can happen if you go in and you press that button. So It says, however, there are a host of ad blockers on the market, and that's true. That's just one that I showed you, and each maintains its own user settings and policies, distinguishing between intrusive ads and acceptive native content, as I just showed you. Currently, our data, and this to me is where the biggest problem is, okay? It says currently, our data suggests that promoted listings are being blocked for less than 2% of traffic. Less than 2%. And then they just give this little sentence afterwards that they're constantly evaluating their user experiences, and they'll just monitor things over time. But less than 2%. Where does that less than 2% come from? Where, that's a number they're throwing out there. Where does that come from? Can we verify that anyway? Is there a source for it? No, not that they're showing. From what I've heard, they're basing that information based on sales, not based on an actual research study, not based on an actual survey. You can go yourself and go and search on the internet and see what it says in terms of what percent of people are using ad blockers. So right there, what percent are using ad blockers? 40%. And you could go, and the studies, it differs from study to study. Like if we click on this one here, and just to be fair, okay, it says survey shows ad blocking usage is at 40% on laptops, 15% on mobile. A lot of people have said that ad blocking can't happen on mobile. Not true. It can happen on mobile. There are ways that you can do that through even ad blocker. The problem I have with this particular study is that it was done in conjunction with Ad Block Plus. Why would Ad Block Plus be motivated to maybe show a number that says 40% and that it's increasing? Well, you'd be more likely to buy their product. But at the same time, why would eBay be motivated to say 2%? Well, because they don't want to scare you away too much from the promoted listing. So because of this, we need independent sources of data to look at. People who are not tied to eBay and people who are not tied to AdBlocker Plus or any other ad blocker program in trying to determine what the actual state of affairs are. So you could do your own research on it. And interesting that ads are popping up even though I have the ad blocker on. But anyway, if we go over here to Forbes, Forbes cites data from latest infographic from Global Web Index is that 47% of consumers are blocking ads. Wall Street Journal provides some additional information based on a study done by Deolite Research, finds that 31% of Americans and 27% of Canadians use ad blocking software on their computers. And 18 to 34-year-olds were more than 10 percentage points more likely to block ads on PCs than people of all ages. So that's particular concern if you are selling products that are designed to be marketed to an 18 to 34 demographic as opposed to if you're selling something to older people. And keep in mind, there's a lot of reasons, other reasons why people, and the research has bared this out if you look at some of these studies, in terms of why people are using ad blockers. Sometimes it's not even solely really about the ad itself. Sometimes it's because the ads just slow down your ability to surf the web. They eat up RAM, that sort of thing. So if you want to get faster, just eliminate all types of ads altogether, especially if your computer's slow, just knock all that out. Two, some of them contain little pieces of information to kind of track you. People are very big on privacy, don't want to be tracked, don't want any suggestions to come up based on things that they are searching for being tracked. Some have even little bits of like viruses also that are attached to them, or malware. Again, depending on the site. I'm not saying eBay does that at all, but there are other places that throw up intrusive ads that do that type of thing. And so there's a lot of reasons why people would just decide automatically once they download an ad blocker that they don't want any more ads popping up anywhere on any site they go to, and they just happen to show up on eBay one day, and again, you're not going to show up in that specific situation that I just showed you. Now let's go over here. As a result, web users, this is an actual research study that was published in an actual journal here. This one says that A recent study estimates that over 600 million devices worldwide were using ad blocking by the end of 2016, over which half were mobile. That's a 30% increase from 2015. Folks, we are in 2019. 2019, so the trend is definitely going up. And the other thing that's happening is that this is triggering kind of like a back and forth between companies that are dependent on the promoted ad revenue and the companies that are devoted to blocking the ads. So look at this in terms of the impact, and this comes from MIT Technology Review, okay? Ad blockers reduced revenue from online ads by 22 million in 2014. Now publishers are fighting back and in an increasingly sophisticated online battle. So there are basically there's ad blocker detectors that are implemented on some websites that will detect that you have an ad blocker on. And this is an example. I told you I installed ad blocker on a desktop computer earlier today, and then I went to CNN, and look what this showed. It says, looks like you're using an ad blocker. We charge advertisers instead of our audience. Please whitelist our site to show up your support for CNN.com. And so what you can do, whitelist means you press that button, you manually go in, you type in CNN, you basically say, it's okay for ads to show up on CNN. So one of the things that I'm definitely calling for here, not that I'm some big voice that eBay's going to listen to, but if they see it, one of the things that I definitely would suggest is that eBay implements something like this on their site so that if people are using an ad blocker, that they get a message that lets them realize that they are missing out on items that could be very relevant to what it is that they're searching for, so that they can whitelist eBay, so that eBay promoted listings are actually showing up. So that's that one. I'm just going to knock some of these things out. There were some things I wanted to tell you from different articles that I brought up, and I'm going to just block these things out. Let me see. There might have been something from here that I wanted to show you. I'm not sure. No, that's just talking about different places that people block ads. That's the 47% one. This again, 40%. And you know what? As I keep going over these numbers, 40%, 45%, or 47%. One of the things you're noticing is that none of them are saying 2%. Not only are they not saying 2%, none of them are saying anything close to 2%. So the independent data that I am looking at is indicating that the number is much closer to the 40 than it is to the 2. There's one other one that I could show you if we type in what percent use ad blocker. There's a website called Statistica. Where is it? Right here. I was looking at this one earlier. Here we go, Statista. And this one gives some interesting numbers here and some projections from 2014 to 2021. And you can see here, we've got a projection here that ranges from 15.7% in 2014 to 27% in 2021. So still not as high as 40, but still significant. This would basically mean, if this data is true, that 75% of the promoted listings are not showing up, depending on what site you're on and what type of ad blocker software program you're using. There's all sorts of variables that are going to go into it. But it's definitely a problem. And I think that for sure, another thing that I would like to see is, I think that eBay really needs to change this right here, because this just does not seem accurate to say 2%. So unless someone could show me actual empirical data that shows a 2% rate based on research, either based on a survey, which is less scientific, by the way, than studies that are designed based on actually tracking downloads of ad blockers, and looking at percentages that way. This 2% number just doesn't seem to make sense to me. So that's just my objective look at it. So that gets me to what am I currently doing in my situation? So let me bring you up to one of my pages right here. This is one of my active pages. And what am I currently doing? Am I eliminating all promoted listings? No, I'm not. At least I'm not yet. Am I going to tell you that I won't ever get to that point? I don't know. I can't tell you what the future is going to show. But I can tell you that for my business, I am currently making a record amount of sales on eBay. That does partly coincide with use of promoted listings, but it's definitely not the only reason. There's a lot of other reasons that I went into in my 10 ways to make $10,000 in 60 days on eBay video. A lot of things I did that contributed to it. So I'm not attributing it even mostly to promoted listings. It's just been a component during that phase, and I'm doing well with it, so I don't want to completely eliminate it. In fact, let me actually show you my numbers on promoted listings right here. Bring it up right over here, and I could show you. I actually haven't even looked at this recently, so it will tell you my numbers. Let's get it up. So in the last 31 days, I sold 16 items for a total sales volume of $672.63 with a total ad fee of $34.88. That's not bad. I will take that. Would I rather not spend the $35? Yes. Are there items in there I believe sold because of the promoted listings? Yes, because there were things that were stale and sitting around for a while. Can I prove it to you? No. Can I tell you for sure that it would not have sold otherwise if I didn't have the promoted listings? No. And that's another part of the problem. And I would like eBay to present more data that clearly shows that shows the difference between having items promoted versus not promoted, and what the difference is in terms of views. And it really would be best if this was farmed out, like if they actually hired a third-party company to actually do the research, or actually even better than that would be if an independent company actually went out there and just did the research themselves and just ran a large study designed to assess just that and figure that out. So the more independent the research is, the better. But now, why am I not doing, I didn't tell you this is what I'm not doing, but another thing I'm not doing is just applying a flat percentage rate, flat promoted percentage rate to all of my items. Why am I not doing that? So in other words, why am I not just saying promote every single item at 5%? The reason that I'm not doing that is because I have too many instances where items sell within the first day. For example, today I'm sending out a VCR that I literally sold hours after I put it up. Now, if I had just put a flat 5% on that, the moment I posted it, I lose 5% completely unnecessarily. And for some of my higher priced items, particularly if they're high priced items that have a ton of views, I know they're going to sell. So for example, this vintage 1983 Rainbow Bright wall hanging item. Now, it's not very highly priced, but it has 31 watchers on it. I know it's going to sell. I just got to maybe lower the price a little bit. I do have it. I do have that one promoted because it's been around for a long time. But when I first went in there, did I automatically promote it? No, I waited for a long time, like a while, before I decided to actually eventually promote that item. There's other items that I have up, like you could see this one here. This is my vintage Darth Vader TIE Fighter. I've got 13 watchers on that at $184. You could see there, I have not promoted that one because I'm convinced it's going to sell without the promotion, and I'm willing to wait a while. If you want to move it faster, then put a promotion on it. These are all the things you have to weigh for your business. You have to decide for you what you think you're comfortable with, what you think is going to work for you. But my general approach has been, when I first put an item up, that I am not going to just automatically promote that item right off of the bat. So let me go to page 2 of my listings, which are going to show you my newest ones, or ones that just had recycled. So when I first put the item up, so Let's go to an item I put up recently. For example, this one right here, these Notre Dame two-piece car mats. Now, I just put those up the other day. They have 55 views. They don't have any watchers. I am not promoting that right now. What would make me promote it? Well, what would make me promote it is if I was in a saturated category and I wasn't getting any views. So for example, just yesterday, I only had 7 views after a few days with this Jester hat. Now this Jester hat I purchased with a bunch of other Jester material. I decided to put up for $9.99. There's a ton of Jester hats out there. So to get my item some more views, I promoted it at a 5% rate. So that's one reason I would suggest surgically going in and looking at specific items and deciding to promote them. One criteria I would say for that is if you're just not getting enough views. So promote it, try to get the views, see if that helps you make the sale. The other reason is that if it didn't sell the first time around, so you're getting the views, but it's not selling, and you've got to make a decision in terms of, do you just want to keep it at the same price, or do you want to lower the price, or maybe promote it instead? And let me show you how it can make sense to act, because a lot of people are worried about wasting money with promoted listings. But check out this logic, okay? What I would do in a situation like this sometimes, this Virgin Mary statue, I have it at $34.99 with 4 watchers. Now, sometimes what I would do is I would lower the price by $5. So I would put that up at $29.99. Well, what if instead of doing that, I slap a 5% promoted rate on it and don't lower the price? If I do that, which I'm going to apply to it right now, I'm only going to spend less than $2 if that item sells. So I keep it at the $34.99, yet I promoted it. Yeah, let's see if that helps. And then if I make the sale within the next, you give yourself whatever time frame you want, within another week, within 2 weeks, whatever, great. You sold it and you actually saved $3 because you did a promoted listing instead of lowering the price $5. Or let's take this item right here. This is, a cheaper item. So this one's $9.99. Okay, now if I wanted to, I could lower the price to $8.99, right? So I could take another $1 off, and maybe that would help make the sale. Well, what if instead of doing that, I promoted at 5%? If I promote at 5%, then if I make the sale and don't lower the price, then I'm paying 50 cents instead of that dollar being lost. Now, here's the other thing. If you are doing promoted listings and have an eBay store, certain levels of eBay store, you get a promotion that comes back to you like a promotional discount. So you get $30, or I think you can even get more depending on your level of store, that will come back the next time. So if you wound up spending, $30 on your promoted listing, you're going to get some of that money back. So there's another reason to use promoted surgically on certain items, rather than actually lowering the price. But you're going to have to monitor it for your specific situation and decide whether or not, and just basically, keep tabs on it. Are you getting more viewers or are you getting fewer viewers using your promoted listings? But essentially, what I would suggest right now, at least what I'm doing for my business, I mean, again, you got to do what works for you. But for me, I am continuing to use a surgical approach with promoted listings. Again, may I eventually get to a point where I say I'm not using them like I used to not use them? I don't know. Maybe I will. Will I ever get to a point where I promote everything? I can't really see that happening. Again, because I do in my business have a lot of unique items, one-of-a-kind items that get a lot of watchers and will sell pretty quickly. So unless that stops happening, I mean, you've got to just continue to evolve and adapt to whatever is going on. I don't see that changing. But so right now it's that surgical approach, and that's what I think I'm going to continue doing. But at the same time, I also now have to be aware, right? With this Snow White issue, I have to be aware that there's going to be a certain percentage of people that if they do have that ad blocker running in the background, that they're going to miss out on my item. And I've got to have a realistic number in my mind. I've got to know the right information in terms of what percentage that is. Is it 75% that are going to miss it? Is it 60%? Is it only 2%? And this is why I want to do this video, because again, I don't think it's only 2%. I think it's much more than that. The exact number, I'm not sure we'll ever know the exact number, but it's out there. And it's also, the trend is that it is growing. So I'm not sure what eBay can necessarily do to address it beyond what I just said, which is to put in some type of message that pops up that lets potential buyers know that they're missing out on things. And technology is always evolving, and I think there's just going to be this continued battle between companies that are dependent on the ad revenue, and eBay is becoming increasingly dependent on it, and coming up with technology to fight against the ad blockers and escape detection. So that's basically where we're at this point. And different people have different perspectives on what to do. Again, I'm not really here to say that any particular one is wrong. I'm just trying to tell you what my perspective on it is, why I do it the way I do it, why I don't do certain things. For some other people, for their business model, it may very well just work for them to just blast everything out at 5%. Again, it depends on what they're selling. Some people are going to say 5% is too high. You should do 2%. Some people are going to say do 3%. So, everybody's different. It really, again, just depends. So, I know this was a very long video, folks, and I'm sorry to have made it so long, but it's a complicated issue, and I didn't want to just quickly over summarize it and not get you to all the different points I think that need to be made. So for sure, let me know your comments and any questions down below, and please share with me what your experience is, what you're doing. If you think that this wound up being a good overview for people on the topic, please share it to other people and let them see the video so they could get a comprehensive take on what the situation is, what the controversies are, what the different approaches are, and that surgical approach that I was talking about earlier, because I do think that could help some people out if they haven't thought about it. Because right now I've seen a lot of people are basically saying, turn them all off or use them on everything. But this is a more, again, selective approach that you could use that might help you. So if you like the video, make sure you hit the like button, give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure that you do not miss tomorrow night. So by the time you see this, it's actually going to be tonight. So it's going to be Wednesday night, the 25th. Come in at 9 o'clock. We'll probably talk about this issue a little more with Craig, the Land Shark Picker. I'm going to be interviewing him. He has a background in information technology, so I'll be very interested to get his perspective on this as well. Come in with your questions, anything like that you have based on this video. I mentioned the Facebook group. Make sure you come there to Facebook Reselling Resource Center. The link to it is down below. Come to my Instagram account. That's @prime_time_treasure. I will see everyone back at the next video, everyone. Take care.